So while we are waiting, let me actually ask you a quick question. Has any of you heard of Clarity before, Microsoft Clarity? Anyone? Please raise your hand if you have ever heard of this tool. Okay, so we have one at the back. Anyone else? Well, this actually hurts. Okay, I'm going to introduce you to it in this talk. So I think we can start because we have to actually finish on time. So let me start. So my name is Ibrahim Radwan and welcome to my session today. In today's session, I'm gonna talk to you about how to decipher and understand your user's behavior using Microsoft Clarity. But before I start, a little bit about myself. As I said, my name is Ibrahim Radwan. I'm a senior software engineer working at Microsoft. I have been with Microsoft for like 5 years now. And for the last 4 years, I have been working mainly on Clarity. And my journey with Clarity started on the data management team, which was responsible for taking all the input data that comes to Clarity, which is a huge amount of data, and making sure that we store this data into the database system that we use in a reliable and an efficient way, and also to make sure that we can serve this data to our customers in real time. And then after a year and a half, roughly a year and a half, my manager pulled me aside to start a side project, which was responsible for bringing Clarity or expanding the Clarity's scope from being a tool targeted towards websites only to also cover and include native mobile applications, including Android, of course. And this is why I'm here to share how to use Clarity with Android with you. And as always, please feel free to tweet us during this session or afterwards at MSFT Clarity. Your feedback is always valuable. And let me first, before going into what Clarity is and what the main features of Clarity are, I would like to answer this simple question, which is why Clarity? And in order to answer this question, I'm going to give you a scenario that I'm sure most of us would relate to, which is that we start working on a feature in one of the apps that we develop, and we go through a standard process by first speccing and designing this feature, taking the necessary approvals, and then we start implementing this feature, testing it, and so on. And when we are sure that this feature is doing what it should do, or what it has to do, we ship it directly to production, expecting that we will have increased customer satisfaction levels, increased conversions, and so on. But it's not actually uncommon to face the exact opposite of this, and we end up with angry customers, increased complaints, and so on. And this usually happens because we don't see the full picture, and this is where Clarity comes to help you. So Clarity is basically designed to bridge the gap between you as an application owner or developer and your end customers. So it does this by showing you what your users are doing on your application and how they are interacting with your recently released features. And based on this visual signal and this visual feedback that you get, you should be able to take more data-driven decisions and more informed decisions towards making your application experience more compelling and more appealing to your end users. So basically, as you can see here, you work on a feature, you ship it, you get some feedback from your customers, and with having this complete feedback loop, it should help you take, as I said, more informed decisions towards enhancing your application overall. Okay, as I said earlier, Clarity started as a tool targeted to website developers, and it has seen a tremendous success since its release. So right now, as we speak, Clarity is running on like 1.5 million web projects, and Clarity is helping the owners of these projects optimize their experience for their end users, which are roughly 1 billion daily active end users who send us like 7 billion daily pages. And given this scale, you could imagine the success that Clarity has had since its release. And this is actually one of the core reasons that motivated us to bring this exact tool to a native mobile application space, because developers usually tend to use the same tools regardless of the platform that they are developing for. Sorry. And even more, what assured us that we are on the right track is the feedback that we got from our early customers. So I'm going to share with you a couple of success stories here. The first one is called Ultra Pharma, for an online pharmacy in Brazil, where they integrated Clarity within their app to see possible improvements and find some insights on how to make the app even better for their customers. And after they got some insights from Clarity, they were able to redesign some parts of their application. And this actually turned into some good numbers for for them. So they basically were able to increase the average session duration time by 3 minutes, increased customer satisfaction, customer retention, sorry, and customer orders by like 30%. So from these numbers, you could imagine the impact that this could have on any business. And in their own words, they said that Clarity helped them have a great experimentation culture, which allowed them to take important business decisions without having to guess anything, and it also allowed them to make changes in time. Moving on now to the second success story, which is for a company called Robusta. They are basically a software house, and this software house manages tens of e-commerce applications, and they have millions of daily active users. Sorry, and after integrating Clarity, they were able to again find some problems with their UI, and they had to actually reshuffle things around a little bit to make the app more intuitive to their users. And on the other side, they were able to spot a critical bug with their search and sorting algorithm, which prevented users from reaching the products that they were looking for, even though the products were on the application. So after fixing this bug as well, they were able to increase their session duration average by 32%, reduced checkout cycle time by 20%, increased orders by 7%, and finally increased customer retention by like 23%. And again, as you can see, a great success here. And in their own words, they said that Clarity helped them analyze user behavior, getting unique insights, and based on these insights, they were able to make data-driven decisions, and hence all of this, Clarity became an integral part of their workflow. Now let me move to the tools that you could use, or the tools that Clarity provides you to help you drive such insights. So basically, Clarity gives you 3 key features or key tools. The first one is session recordings, in which you see what your users are doing on your application. The second one is heat maps, in which you could see an aggregate view of all of the users' interactions that are happening on your application. And finally, the insights dashboard or the analytics dashboard, which shows you an eagle-eye view of all of your project metrics and help you navigate quickly to some problematic sessions on your dashboard. Now let me dig deeper into each one of these, right? And let me start by the session recordings one. As you can see here on the left-hand side, this is an actual video recording of a physical device. And while using this application, Clarity was working on this device. And as you can see on the right-hand side here, this is a reconstruction of this session on the Clarity dashboard. I'm going to play the videos for you now side by side. Try to keep an eye on both videos at the same time. You will see that Clarity is able to reconstruct a near-perfect session of what the user was going through on the application. So let me play it for you. So as you can see, the user is scrolling through the categories, clicked on the bakery category, went to a certain product, went back again, went to the search fragment, searched for a certain product, so as you can see, if you have this signal on your application, you should be able to see the bottlenecks in your app, the user experience issues, maybe the possible improvements that you could do to make the app even better. And there are a few scenarios that stand out while using this feature. So basically, the first one of them is detecting frustration. So in this particular session, I'm going to play the videos again for you. The user scrolled to a certain element and kept clicking on this element, expecting something to happen, but this element was actually a dead element. And this is one of the scenarios that Clarity easily captures and surfaces to you. So as you can see here, the user is clicking on this burger icon, expecting something to happen, and expecting this banner to take them to a certain scenario, but nothing was happening. And Clarity was able to actually capture this here. Let me replay this for you. Okay, it's not replaying for some reason. Anyway, but as you're able to see, let me go back a second. Yeah, here as you can see, Clarity is showing you multiple tabs at this banner and showing you that the user is frustrated. And if you check the event timeline here on the left, bottom left corner, you will be able to see that Clarity flagged these tabs as dead tabs, which means that the user was clicking on something, but this element wasn't doing anything. And then Clarity at some point decided that these tabs could be marked as rage tabs because the user was frustrated. And whenever you filter on any session that has rage tabs, you should be able to pinpoint point, the frustration points within your application, and work on fixing them. You could also favorite sessions, share sessions internally or externally, label sessions to go back to them later on, and all of these features. You can also apply a ton of filters by clicking on the filters button at the top left corner. And by filters here, we mean like country filters, operating system filters, session duration filters, and so on. So basically, by having a lot of filters, you can zoom in on the segment that is more interesting for you. So for example, you might need to zoom in on the sessions that are coming from Germany to see how your localization works for your end users. Moving on to one of the key features as well is capturing web views. In this session, you will see that Clarity is able to capture web views. So this is a web view that has been loaded and the user was scrolling through some images. And as you can see, Clarity captures web views perfectly fine. And it does this by injecting a snippet of JavaScript code inside your web view and extracting some mutation events and user interactions from within your web view and sharing these events with the native side of things. And then the native side of things uploads all of the data combined to our backend. Now, an important question that actually might come to your mind is about privacy and how Clarity actually handles privacy. So Clarity was built with privacy at its core, so we give you full flexibility and full control of what makes it to the Clarity servers and what stays on the device. So in this example here, I decided to mask this banner that says your one-stop video shop, right? And if you see the recordings here, no matter what the user does, scrolling up and down, moving to different screens, turning back, you will always see a masked version of this element, which only contains the layout of the view. So you basically see a placeholder of the image and some dots in place of the text, which means that no data or no content is captured whatsoever. We only capture the layout of this masked element. And more details about masking. All of the masking logic happens on device, so masked data never leaves the device. All of the masking rules apply on device or on the client side. We also auto-mask PII information like emails, credit card numbers, and so on. We also force mask all input fields, like whatever the user is typing stays on the user's device. We also give you the ability to use CSS selectors to mask particular elements within your web view, and we respect those selectors, of course. And finally, we give you a ton of masking options through APIs, through the SDK, or through your project settings page. And I'm going to also go a little bit into the details here after a few slides. Now, moving on to the second key feature, as I said, which is heat maps. And as you can see here, it shows you an aggregate view of all of the interactions of your users on your app. So basically here I have filtered on a certain screen, which is called Contours Activity, and it shows me on the left-hand side here a bunch of viewports at different scroll depths and different fragments and so on. So we do our best to give you the minimum number of viewports that gives you the most value. And if you click on any of these viewports, it will be displayed here at the center, and you will see a heat layer overlaid on top of this viewport that shows you the interactions of your users. So basically, if you check the bottom bar here, the search icon has the most interactions on it. So this means that most of your users are interested in this part of your application. So if you find out that, like, let's say 80% of your users are clicking on a certain button or going through a certain scenario that does not generate them revenue at the end of the day, does not generate you revenue at the end of the day, or does not give them what they are looking for. So this means that you might need to reshuffle things around or redesign parts of your application. And as before, you could apply different types of filters and so on. Another type of heat maps that we provide is the range tabs heat maps and did tabs heat maps. So in this particular case, I have selected the range tabs heat maps type. And if you remember from the previous recording, the user was clicking on this banner and nothing was happening. So basically, if you check here again, you will see that the most heat is on this particular element. And this suggests that you have a problem here within your application that needs to be fixed. Okay, now moving on to the Insights dashboard or the Analytics dashboard. And as I said before, it gives you an overview of all of the metrics of your application. So you can basically see the number of sessions, distinct users or distinct active users. You can also see the percentage of sessions that had did tabs, rich tabs. You can see your sessions broken down by device model, device class, country, and so on. You can see the most popular screens and fragments. You can see the percentage of sessions that had either application crashes or web view errors. And the great thing is that you can basically, next to any metric here, you can click on the recordings icon, which would take you to the recordings page that shows you the recordings related to this metric. Okay, now moving on to the trendy thing these days, which is Copilot. So basically, we have recently introduced Copilot within Microsoft Clarity, which gives you the ability to get insights from your sessions and summarize your sessions with a click of a button without having to go through the session and watch it end to end. So in this example here, I have a recording on the left-hand side. So as you can see, the user went to the dairy category, clicked on the milk product, went back and then searched for an item, clicked on the eggs product, went back. So now the user visited milk and eggs and also went to the breakfast category, clicked on the tea bags product, clicked multiple times on the tea bags title, went back, searched for a different product, clicked on bread. Okay, so the session has ended here. Now let's see what Copilot has to say about this session. So the first thing is the user began their session on the Contoso activity screen and remained engaged with the application for 56 seconds, exploring various product categories and details. So this is basically a summarization of what happened. And then they showed a particular interest in dairy products by first tapping on dairy at, and then viewing milk at, and later searching for eggs, which then tapped on at. So this basically gives you a summarization of the events that happened within the session. And finally, a key insight here, which says a notable moment of potential frustration or indecision occurred when the user repeatedly tapped on tea bags, starting from to, suggesting either an issue with responsiveness or uncertainty about purchasing. So you might need to go and look at this particular segment of your session to understand why the user was frustrated or why the app was not responsive to your user. And even better, you can give Copilot multiple sessions and then ask Copilot to extract insights from all of these selected sessions. And in the near future, we should be publishing or releasing the heat maps insights feature as well, which means that you could ask Copilot to give you insights from heat maps. And finally, chatting with Copilot. So basically, you would get a chatting interface with Copilot and ask it general questions to get you more insights about your application. Now, moving on to the more technical part, which is integrating Clarity. It's a very easy process. All what you have to do is just add the Clarity package to your build Gradle file, and then you call the initialize function in your activities on create function. And that's it. Once Clarity is initialized, it starts capturing the session data and uploading it to our backend servers. Now, Clarity provides you with a few configurations to tune its behavior. So I'm going to go through the most important ones here, which are first one, controlling the metered network usage. So Clarity basically defaults to uploading on unmetered networks only. If you'd like it to upload on metered networks as well, you can configure it to do so. And you can also give it a maximum daily quota to consume for uploading. And you can control whether Clarity should capture web views or not. And if it should capture web views, for which domains, you can whitelist a set of domains to be captured. And if the user leaves these domains, Clarity will not work on this loaded website. Finally, you can whitelist or blacklist activities, and whenever an activity is blacklisted, it will not be captured by Clarity whatsoever, no interactions, no recordings, nothing at all. And if you limit Clarity to a set of whitelisted activities, those activities will be the only ones to be tracked by Clarity. Now, moving on to the APIs that you can call to control also Clarity's behavior. You can pause and resume Clarity at any point in time. You can mask and unmask views. And if you remember the masking example that I have shown you earlier, all what I did is giving the banner that I would like to mask to the mask view function, and Clarity took care of everything after that. You can set a custom user ID for your session. And by setting a custom user ID, you can maybe correlate the behavior of the user with different analytic services that you might be using, or you can correlate the user behavior across different sessions. So this is useful in these scenarios. You can set custom tags for your sessions. So let's assume that you have 2 different flights running and you'd like to know which flight would work best for your users. You can tag the flights of the sessions of flight A with flight A, and the same for flight B, and then compare the sessions, the metrics, and so on to decide which flight would actually make more sense to your users. And this is actually one of the scenarios that our customers use us heavily on. Okay, if you also use React Native, you can just install this package and call initialize as well. So pretty simple, but you will need to have a fresh build because Clarity depends on native code. And this means that using Expo is going to be limited. So you might need to generate an APK for testing locally. And now let's actually dig deeper into masking. As I said, we give you full control of what to mask and what to send to Clarity. So the most generic option here is selecting the masking mode. We provide you with 3 different masking modes: balanced, strict, and relaxed. If we start by relaxed, this means that we capture everything. And for the balanced case, we do mask all PIIs, right? Only PIIs. And for the strict mode, we just capture the layout of the application. We capture no content at all, no text, no images. And after you have selected the suitable masking mode for your application, we give you more granular control by specifying different rules for views to be masked, screens to be masked, fragments to be masked, either by view ID, view type, or also for activities, you can use activity type. For fragments, you can use fragment type. And if you have obfuscation enabled, you can set a custom tag and use this tag for masking and unmasking. And for the React Native case, you can use the test ID property to also control masking and unmasking. Okay, now let's assume that you are using a different analytics service and you'd like to correlate or link Clarity sessions with some events on these analytics services. So we give you the ability of doing this in an easy way. You can set a callback that's going to be called whenever a new Clarity session starts. And within this callback, all what you have to do is to get the current session URL and log it as a custom parameter or a custom key in your different analytics service. And in this example here, let's take the crashlytics example. For example, as you can see here at the bottom right corner, you can go to an event, go to the custom keys and check the session URL, go to this session URL, watch what happened with the user to actually cause this crash, and this would help you reprove the issue and then fix it later on. Okay, now moving on to how Clarity works. I know it might actually look like that we are capturing screenshots every now and then displaying them as a video for you, but this is actually not what's happening, because when we started working on Clarity or bringing Clarity to native mobile applications, we had a few requirements in mind. So the first one was being efficient on the host application, and by efficient we mean in terms of CPU consumption, memory consumption, battery consumption, network consumption, and so on, because developers might actually shy away from adding this SDK if they find out that it degrades their application performance. And for the second one is being scalable, because we promise no sampling on certain types of data. So we basically get a huge amount of data. As we speak now, we have some customers that send us like 250K sessions per day. So in order to be able to consume all of this data and digest it, we had to come up with an approach that's scalable on our infrastructure to be able to minimize our costs. So basically, this was one of the requirements to be scalable. And for the last one, it had to have a high fidelity reconstruction of the user sessions, because without having a good quality reconstruction of the session, you as an application developer might not be able to tell what the problem was in order to fix it. So this was the third requirement. And as I have shown you earlier, we were able to actually come up with very good quality reconstruction of the application sessions. And moving on to the different approaches. So basically we had, as I said, the screenshotting approach, where you take a screenshot of the application versus capturing the display commands of the application. And to give you an example here, let's assume that your application is just displaying a red box with a blue circle inside it. If you capture a screenshot of this scene, you will get an array of pixel colors, basically. But on the other hand, if you capture drawing commands, you get something like this. You get a draw rect command, and then a fill red command, then translate, then draw circles, then fill blue. And if you take these low-level abstract drawing commands and apply them on any 2D graphics surface, you will end up with the same scene that the user was seeing on the application. And this approach actually met our requirements better than the other one. So we went with this approach. So in a nutshell, Clarity goes through your screen, goes through your views, and draws these views on a custom type of canvas that just notes the commands that it received, right? And these commands get uploaded to our servers and then used to reconstruct the screen the session when you ask for it. So yeah, this is basically it. It's a very simplified version, of course, because we have a ton of optimizations behind the scenes to make it efficient. For example, we don't redraw the view unless it's invalidated and so on. And yeah, this is basically it for how it works under the hood. Now, for other frameworks and platforms, we have just recently released our iOS SDK. It was released like 3 days ago, so please also feel free to try it on your iOS app if you have one, and send us your feedback. We are also planning on releasing a Compose compatible version in a few weeks, maybe a couple of weeks or so. And for Flutter, we have some work in progress for Flutter, so hopefully we'll be able to ship it soon. And moving on to this summarization slide, as I said, Clarity, yeah, I actually forgot to mention this. So basically, Clarity is a 100% free service to use. It's GDPR and CCPA compliant. It gives you a ton of masking options. It has Copilot integrated into it to facilitate things for you. It's lightweight. It's built for scale. It has also web app support, so you can use it for your website, your Android application, your iOS application, React Native application, Ionic, Cordova, and so on. And it's easy to install, as you have seen. And that's it. So as we always say, stop guessing, get Clarity. Feel free to scan this QR code. It's going to take you to the landing page of Clarity. And if you have any feedback, please send us an email at clarityms@microsoft.com. And that's it. If you have any questions, please let me know.